very, very exciting today. And of course, I missed my intro because I forgot to hit record on the fucking program. But despite that fact, I did get back to jiu-jitsu today. I know that I had said that I'd probably convalesce a little bit longer before jumping back in, but I had to do it, man. I was feeling the temptation. I was feeling an extra half inch of waistline there or whatever it was, but I felt like I was ready to go back. And I'm really glad that I did. You know, it's one of those things where I wasn't sure that I was able to go back until I started doing the warm-up. And I realized that I was not only able to get through the whole warm-up, but I was actually pushing a little bit further ahead than the warm-up itself. I mean, cardiovascularly, I was still a little bit taxed because, I mean, let's face it, I've been out for about a week and a half. But strength-wise, though, I was holding up very, very well. I can only imagine what will happen if I start adding a decent weight regimen to my jiu-jitsu diet. But yeah, so I think I'm over that hump, and I think I might be ready to get back in the saddle again. I'm gonna take it easy within this first week or so. You know, not really trying to push it too hard with my sparring partners and whatnot. Because, I mean, I really do want to make a clean recovery and get back going in earnest. And, you know, it's one of those things where I like to give it my all. You know, like when I'm rolling with somebody, I want them to feel threatened the whole time. I don't want them to feel like they can take it easy or they can lounge, you know, maybe put the sunglasses on, a little bit of cocoa butter on the nose and shit. No. I want you to feel like you're rolling with something that's like half crocodile, half octopi, and I'm just like wrapping around your legs and your arms and your torso, and really all I want to do is wrap my arm around your neck and choke you out. That's the vision I want between your ears when I'm rolling with you, is that this guy's gonna hurt me if I don't watch my shit. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into our first dance. And of course, I'm completely disorganized. Hadn't even picked out a first dance yet. Although it may be a relief to some people, I've actually been doing a little bit of shopping on the old Amazon, and it's amazing what you can find there. Apparently, Prong's latest album is now out, 0 Days. And if you've not heard the single for that, I gotta tell you, if you're a Prong fan, you will be impressed. If you're not a Prong fan, you will become a Prong fan. It is tasty-ass shit. If you like metal at all, I think you'll enjoy it. Anyway, let's go ahead and get down with some Prong. I'm feeling the need, and we'll go with something off of No Absolutes because I do not have a copy of 0 Days yet, but it will be happening soon enough. Let's go ahead and throw down No Absolutes here on Coin Metal. And that was Blood by Anthrax. And some might wonder why I don't actually play anything that was after that or before what do you call it, For All Kings. And there's a couple reasons for that, actually. They're all kind of related, though. I was not a big fan of the transition of Joey Belladonna out of Anthrax, and so I didn't pay much attention to Anthrax after The Sound of White Noise, because honestly I didn't think John Bush's voice was the best fit for the band, and I felt that his range was too limited. I didn't really like his style for the fit, you know. I mean, he's an excellent performer and he's an excellent singer, but he's not Joey Belladonna. I mean, there are very few people that have the voice that Joey does, you know, and so trying to fill those shoes was going to be tough for anybody. But musically, I didn't really enjoy all of the directions that Anthrax was taking. I bought The Sound of White Noise, and then I think I bought Stomp 442. And that was like the Metallica Black album for me, where that was the one where I kind of gave up hope on them. Now, I to be fair, I did try out some of the Anthrax stuff during the Bush era, that was like toward the end, where they seemed to be coming more back to their roots, you know, instead of just a little heavier than heavy rock. You know, it's like that's basically where Anthrax filled, in my mind at least, with Stomp 442 and The Sound of White Noise, and I think I heard something off one of the albums after that, and I was just like, nope. But again, it was something different in the stylings. But I don't recall the name of the album, but there was one of their albums. It was one of the last two that they had before they went back to Joey Belladonna with worship music, and I don't remember the name of it. All I know is it did have the star with the broken upside down star on it, and it sounded really, really tasty. It was a bit faster and a bit more aggressive, and a bit more down to what I kind of came to expect of Anthrax. I mean, they're kind of unique in that they're a thrash metal band, but they I don't know, they incorporated a lot more of the hard rock elements as far as like harmony, chorus, and the vocal style. It's not you know, like a Cookie Monster or something like that. I hate that. My apologies for those of you who enjoy that. I'm just not a fan. You know, I mean, it's one of those things where I like to sing along with music, and if I can't understand what the dude is saying, and I can't match how he's using his voice, then it loses a lot of interest for me. You know, I mean, I like singing along with Nine Inch Nails. I mean, when I discovered that a lot of these karaoke guys have Closer, oh my goodness, that's the fucking song that I sing in karaoke. I want to fuck you like an animal. I love yelling that out to a fucking bar full of drunk people. Anyway, I wanted to touch on some stuff today, but I'm not sure exactly which direction to take it today. I mean, I've got all kinds of articles up here, and so it's not a matter of lack of material. It's that a lot of it is varied. And one thing I definitely want to touch on, though, is this Floyd Mayweather thing. And I put out a tweet today, and I tweeted to him, and I said, some may joke about your literacy or lack thereof, but you know, it's something about it makes me wonder which is more important, literacy or vision. And I said that you're one up on Kanye, because if you recall back in I think it was 2014, 2015, somebody created a Kanye coin, and Kanye West threw a fucking fit and sued the shit out of Kanye, and it went away. Well, Floyd Mayweather apparently is getting into the ICO market, which I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, because we talked about ICOs on the show and my personal feeling about them. But I'm curious to find out which ones he's involved in. I don't recall it mentioning this, but I'm going to go ahead and read this article. It's a nice short article on the CoinDesk. Boxing champ... Oh, wait. Let me find out if the reason it's short is because it's on somewhere else. Check and verify. Just trying to make sure here that it's an actual article from CoinDesk and not posted from somewhere else. No, it appears to be legit. Here it goes. He's one of the world's greatest boxers by most standards, and he just took to social media to promote an upcoming initial coin offering. Floyd Mayweather Jr., who earned a number of boxing records in his years on the professional circuit, is set to fight boxer. He's not a boxer. He's an MMA guy, Conor McGregor, in a highly billed match on August 26th. In a photo shared on Instagram just over an hour ago, Mayweather predicted that he would, quote, make a shit ton of money as a result of that fight. A comment made while seated in front of what appears to be a significant pile of money on a private jet. Yet in the same message, he also predicts that he will also strike it big during the ICO for stocks, a prediction market that is launching its sale on August 2nd. And there's the Instagram post. It's a notable statement given the content of it. Here is champion predicts I'm going to make a shit ton of money on August 26th. I'm going to make a shit ton of money on August 2nd on the stocks.com ICO. STOX. Let's see, TMT, blah, blah, blah. Okay. It's a notable statement given that just days prior, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission announced that ICOs are subject to its rules and that, in some cases, tokens could be deemed securities. The question that remains is it real? And if so, how involved is Mayweather in the project? While surprising, it's not unheard of for a major boxer to be involved in cryptocurrency. Mike Tyson even once backed a Bitcoin ATM. A representative for Mayweather wasn't immediately available for comment when reached. That's kind of funny. So, yeah. I guess he's getting into the ICO game. I'm looking at him, and he doesn't look half as ripped as I would expect a man who's going to fight Conor McGregor to look. I mean, maybe it's just they time the intensity of his training or something to where he's like at like maximum peak performance like right beforehand, and he's just not there yet, or I don't know. But his arms are not looking particularly toned. He's not looking particularly jacked. I don't know. I'm kind of out on that whole fight. Number one, I think it's just a money grab. Number two, half of me thinks it's going to be fixed. And number three, it's not going to be MMA. Now, if you want to talk about a fight that I would really like to see, it's Floyd Mayweather stepping into the octagon. If he can last with his jumping around and jumping in and out on the fucking octagon, then we can talk. Survive a couple double leg takedowns, maybe a few leg kicks. Yeah. Then we'll talk about Mayweather fighting and how he does against an MMA fighter. But I think they're taking a fucking fish. They're going to take him out of the water, and then they're going to make him fight a matador. I mean, that's what this fight is to me. It's like, I don't know. It's like it's one of those old school exhibition matches, kind of. If you've been into competitive fighting, or in as a fan or whatever, you've seen where boxers have faced off against martial artists and had their asses handed to them. But that was because the martial artist could be a martial artist. Not because they're more physically fit or anything like that, but because the rules allowed the martial artist to be a martial artist. If he can kick, or if he can wrap you up in a guillotine or some shit like that, fuck yeah, that guy's going to kick your ass. He's going to kick your boxing ass because you're fighting like 1/5 of his game. His game is your whole body, not just your fists and not just your face and your upper body. No. He's all about all of you, and he's going to use all of him against all of you. And if you aren't facing him with all of you, you are going to get your ass handed to you, one way or another. That's just all there is to it. That's one of the reasons why I've been in martial arts on and off my entire life. Is that, I told this to my cousin. Don't get me wrong. I am by no means a badass. I walk into my fucking dojo scared shitless because I know every one of those motherfuckers could probably take me. But I managed to hold my own. I played a little pass keep with a brown belt today, and I managed to keep him in my guard the whole time for the 5 minutes, and that always feels good to me. Now, I know they're probably told to take it easy on white belts and whatnot because we don't know all the little tricks that they know. But at the same time, though, I still feel like I've got some assets that are keeping me where I am. That could just be my frail ego trying to build under the stress of getting my ass handed to me the whole time. And I don't hold the illusion that I can kick everybody's ass. No. I mean, if anybody comes out of a jiu-jitsu dojo with that kind of disposition, their instructor sucks. Because unless they're wearing, even if they are wearing a black belt, especially if they're wearing a black belt, that's not their general disposition. They try and avoid conflict. They're like, no, I don't need the police record. Thank you very much. Just, I don't need your permanent impairment on my conscience for the rest of my life. So, just leave me alone. Because I train 3 or 4 times a week to just mangle your fucking body. And I mean, that's the reality behind the situation. But they're more that way. They're more like away from it. Like, no, I don't want it. They're more that way because they know better than anybody else. No matter how good you are, no matter how tough you are, how fast you are, how strong you are, how big you are, none of that shit matters. You run into the wrong person at the wrong fucking time, and they're going to get you. So if you go looking for people, you're going to find the wrong person a lot quicker than if you just back the fuck off. And then that's really the perspective that you get through being humbled by people that are younger than you, people that are older than you, people that are fatter than you, people that are thinner than you, people that are weaker physically, women. If you're a guy, a woman half your size just throwing you to the fucking mat like you're made of paper mache, and twisting your arm around your neck like, she did that yesterday. She did it to the guy before you and the guy before him and the guy before him. So, like I said, I would really like to see Mayweather do some MMA shit. Because I can almost guarantee that he'd walk away from it with a whole different mindset concerning Conor McGregor. Especially if we're fighting Conor McGregor. I wouldn't even put him against Conor McGregor in the fucking octagon. I give him like Demetrius Johnson or maybe Cody. Cody Garbrandt. Little bit of no love on him. Little no love action on Mayweather. It changes fucking attitude like tomorrow. Anyway, so yeah, Mayweather jumping into ICOs. Apparently he can't lose his money fast enough otherwise. And but in touching back to ICOs, the SEC, they've got to have some like really egotistical people out there. I mean, you know they've got to, because it's like the audacity of even looking at an ICO and saying, that looks like an IPO. We regulate that. Fuck you. You know, I mean, we're a step over doing fucking Pokemon cards, and just because we can do it with quote unquote monetary, I mean that what we're doing it with can be considered quote in monetary terms. In realistic terms, this is still quite experimental. I mean, I don't even think we've gone into the productive phase yet with this shit. I mean, the closest one to it is Bitcoin, and it's in the middle of some fucking goof of fuck, and I don't even know what to call it anymore. I guess we're gonna find out after the first, whatever the fuck happens there. I mean, I was always convinced that these kind of conflicts in Bitcoin would be resolved like long before we actually ever even talk about bringing code to productive level. You know, this debate would have ended like 2 years ago, and they would have implemented a patch a year ago, and we wouldn't be where we're at with it. But instead, it seems, I don't know, I think there's a lot of bankers involved. A lot of bankers, a lot of banker money. And they're pushing certain agendas, and you can't discern between who's who, because the articles that we read, there's hardly any attribution, and unless they're like a direct employee, then they'll say something like, you know, so-and-so from Goldman Sachs or so-and-so from Chase. But they don't say, you know, Chase sponsors this guy, or this guy has a bank account with Goldman Sachs, or his daddy is some executive at Goldman Sachs, or some shit like that. But those are the kind of relationships that Goldman Sachs has with outside or peripheral companies. And so it's not unreasonable to think that they would be pushing their own agenda through their proxies. You know, things like segregated witness. As far as I'm concerned, segregated witness and Lightning networks take all of the like trust elements out. And really, one of these days, I think I ought to read that Lightning Network paper again. I managed to get through it in a show, but like when I start seeing things in there like trusted nodes, okay, what the fuck discerns between a trusted node and an untrusted node? You know, like what's the what are the characteristics? You know, is it one that has a license issued to it by a federal government? Is it one that's affiliated with a company that has a license and is registered with the federal government? You know, what exactly discerns between a trusted and untrusted node? And like, I didn't see anything in the paperwork to indicate what that difference was. So I've got to think that somebody does have a trusted party in mind already, Goldman Sachs. And it's just a matter of you gotta kind of omit that for right now until you can sell those stupid 17-year-olds on the idea that they're going to be Lightning node operators and getting, you know, 0.0001 cent per transaction at 40,000 transactions per second. You got to tantalize them with that shit. Of course, you leave out the part where people that do that already have to have money transmitter licenses according to the SEC and FinCEN. Yeah, you just kind of omit that, you know, and you omit the idea that you've got a trusted party in mind for being trusted nodes on this network. And that's how you lie people into this shit. You omit little facts like that. And then you say stupid shit like, the mining is all monopolized in China. No, that's just where the majority of the mining is right now. You can change that. You can change that. That can be changed. Okay, but when you start talking about let's enter in code that we'll have to roll back the blockchain to get rid of. Now we're talking about something completely different. You're talking about radically altering Bitcoin to resolve something that is a temporary aberration. All the mining wasn't in China like 5 years ago, or it might have been 5 years ago, but before that. Originally, all of the mining was not in China. This implies that this is a temporary thing that can change. And as long as we keep that in mind and keep that option available, that dynamism is going to assist us in getting forward with this project. As soon as the idea is implanted in the mind of people that all of it has been corralled to a single source, all of the really good interest in it has already been given over to legacy bankers and federal government organizations. And as soon as it's relegated to that, people will lose interest in it because their interest is no longer in it. Their interest has been replaced by a trusted party that they got into this specifically to get away from because they do not trust those parties. It's funny because I heard this sentiment reflected back to me from somebody else. This idea of why are we courting government entities? Why are we even bothering to court with legacy financiers and stuff? These were the people that we were trying to get away from with Bitcoin, and yet here we are snuggling up with Goldman Sachs and whatnot. And I heard this reflected back to me from, of all people, Peter Schiff. He's like, what the hell is this? Why are they all getting snuggly with Goldman Sachs? I thought they were trying to get away from Goldman Sachs. He even called them our quote-unquote enemy. I don't know that I would go that far because I think commerce is commerce. And it's just a matter of they have the ball right now. But just like the mining dominance of China, it's a temporary aberration. It will not always be so, and we actually hold the tools with which to change that situation in our hands today. I'm going to go ahead and kick it back down to some music here. And I'm hearing some ministry in the background, and I think that's the direction we should go in. Because I like ministry a lot, and fuck it. It's playing Palestina, so I think that's what we should do. Palestina. Fuck it. Palestina by Ministry here on Coin Metal. And that was Beg to Differ by Prong. As if you guys didn't know that already. If you've been listening to this show long enough, I'm sure you've heard it at least once. Because I do play me a lot of Prong on here. Anyway, yeah, like I was saying earlier, I got a ton of tabs. And the SEC's really been bothering me. And this article, its title promises to elucidate on my exact sentiments, or at least some of them concerning the SEC. And this one is on cryptocurrencytalk.com, and kind of blowing it up kind of right now here. And this is started by BTC Manager yesterday at 12:34 a.m. Dude, dedicated. No indication of penis. SEC throttles, quote, initial coin offerings. Tokens are subject to security laws. Yeah, whatever. In a July 25th press release that sent shockwaves through the blockchain community, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission announced that DAO tokens, a digital asset, are considered securities for regulatory purposes, cautioning that U.S. securities may apply to offers, sales, and trading of interest in virtual organization targeting the increasingly popular initial coin offerings. Read more. You fuckers! Apparently it's not on cryptocurrencytalk.com. Apparently it is on bitcoinmanager.com. Now, we're not going to read most of it until we find out for absolutely certain that it is fully disclosed here and not in another fucking site, because that just pisses me off. I had one like that the other day. It was like, it was a reference to an article that was that was actually a reference to another article, and like, so I get five paragraphs through the article, and then I have to go to the other page where it's at, and then I find out that it ends at the exact same spot, and that there's another page that the fucking thing was originally posted on. Anyway, this is on bitcoinmanager.com or btcmanager.com. All about the Bitcoin industry. SEC throttles initial coin offerings. Tokens are subject to security laws. Blah, blah, blah. Alright. Quote, it will only be a matter of time before the regulators get involved and instigate appropriate measures to ensure that the man or woman in the street does not get compromised. Tim Lee, author of the book Down the Rabbit Hole, Discover the Power of the Blockchain. He is incorrect. In a July 25th press release that sent shockwaves, blah, blah, blah. Alright. Let's see, initial coin offerings. The regulatory body released a comprehensive report into the failed DAO project, and we may actually get into that comprehensive report, into the failed DAO project, as well as a declaration that ICOs may, keyword there, may fall under U.S. securities laws. The report stems from an inquiry by the agency's enforcement division into whether the DAO and related entities and individuals violated federal securities laws with unregistered offers and a DAO token sales in exchange for the virtual currency Ether. While the DAO has been widely considered in some circles as a, quote, crowdfunding contract, it would not have met the requirements of the regulatory crowdfunding exemption due to, among other things, that it's not registered with the SEC and FINRA as a broker-dealer or a funding portal. It doesn't fit any of those. See, that's fucked up. It doesn't fit those definitions or the definitions that they have for broker-dealer or funding portal. And so why would it need to be registered with them as such? That doesn't make any sense. As a result, those who utilize ICOs to sell tokens, an asset class that has now surpassed over $1 billion in net proceeds, will have to register them as securities. Fuck you, no they will not. Further, those participating in unregistered offerings may face fines for violations of the securities laws with the purpose of the registration. Quote, to ensure that investors are sold investments that include all of the proper disclosures and are subject to regulatory scrutiny for investors' protection. In addition, securities exchanges that offer trading services in these securities for individuals must register unless they are exempt, which they all are, really. As its first official action of oversight over ICOs, The SEC noted that, quote, whether a particular investment transaction involves the offer or sale of a security, regardless of the terminology or technology used, will depend on the facts and circumstances, including the economic realities of the transaction. I would like further clarification on that myself, said SEC Chairman Jay Clayton in a public statement. Quote, the SEC is studying the effects of distributed ledger and other innovative technologies and encourages market participants to engage with us. We seek to foster innovative and beneficial ways to raise capital while ensuring, first and foremost, that investors and our markets are protected. You know what? Fuck you! There are no promises. There is no guarantee. Shit happens. That is why it is a speculative investment vehicle. It does not require you. I mean, really, who in the cryptosphere doesn't know about the hacks that have happened? If you are invested in one of these things and you are not monitoring the state of them, too fucking bad. The SEC will not do it any better for you. They cannot be trusted. I mean, they wonder why we're doing what we're doing. We're doing what we're doing, SEC, because you can't do your job. FINRA, fuck you too. You can't do your job. We've replaced you with mathematics. The math does the shit that you say you can do, that you can't really do, that we can do. And that's why we don't fucking need you. That's why Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, they're not political, they're apolitical. They do not require governance outside of themselves. I mean, we find out about bad players all the fucking time, and what happens? People remove their funds. What's going to happen if they're protected by you, or they're covered or guaranteed by you? Oh, what's the SEC got to say about Bitmain, or whatever the fuck? Oh, they say they're cool. It's all cool. We can leave my money there. No problem. Oh, what? The CEO's in Bahamas? Go arrest that fucker. And he's no more grabbable than he is now in fucking regulated fucking fiat markets. Give me a break. You cannot protect us. That is why we have made you obsolete with Bitcoin. And that has enough fuckery in it, but it's fuckery we can see. There's no layer of fucking obfuscation of you in between us and it. We see it, we react to it. Oh, what? That guy's a fucker? That guy's not doing his job? He's not making good on his promises? Well, fuck him. I'm not giving him money next round. Fuck that. But no. As long as the SEC still registers them, there's no clue to the rest of the world that there's something wrong. And they go behind the closed doors with the SEC and they hey, look, we need a bailout and we're right back to where we were in 2008. Trust. Give me a fucking break. You can't protect us. That's why we're seeking to protect ourselves. Because it's obvious you're into the robbing us game. Anyway, continuing on. Perry Wooden, CEO of the blockchain accounting and governance firm Node40, says breakthrough advancements in technology often gives way to the rapid acceleration of new business ideas. He noted that the number of businesses supporting blockchain applications has exploded over the past couple of years, and with them, we've seen new tools for raising capital. Quote, the issues that crop up during these cycles of rapid business acceleration often lead to individuals taking a chance with compliance. As we have seen with blockchain, those taking a position that their actions fall into a legal gray area are often shocked to find that compliance is black or white. No. That's not what happens at all. The shit exists, and then some fucking cop comes around and starts poking his nose in it and says, I regulate this. This looks like something I regulate. There's money here. I should have some of it. That's all this shit is. Don't fuck yourself. Continued Wooden, quote, the SEC's report on ICOs was not a surprise. No, it wasn't really. Many of the ICOs were aiming for that compliance gray area. They wanted their offerings to be considered, quote, crowdfunding, even though they could not meet requirements of the regulation crowdfunding exemption. Now we'll see what happens as companies attempt to fit within the SEC's guidelines. Stephen Narayoff, a noted venture capitalist attorney and early Ethereum advisor, added, quote, the SEC's decision reinforces what the blockchain industry already knew. Federal securities laws may apply to all types of technologies. No. You knew that. You thought that. You probably worked for fucking Goldman Sachs last year, so go fuck yourself. If anything, SOL has the characteristics of a security. One must follow U.S. securities laws. This is the case for all technologies, and it should be expected that any organization that fails to comply with the requirements of U.S. securities laws will be held responsible. Now, see, Stephen, where you're wrong here is that usually the medium of exchange, the underlying medium that gives everything its quote-unquote value, is U.S. Federal Reserve notes. That's what makes it SEC applicable and all that bullshit, is that it's your currency, or it's the government's currency. And so it gets to regulate all the shit that goes along with it. But see, this isn't the federal government's currency. This is Ethereum. And Ethereum isn't the U.S. government. It isn't related to the Federal Reserve. It might be kind of related to Goldman Sachs, but that's only because they gave them a lot of money. And Goldman Sachs, just so you know, unlike a lot of instances before where you were the primary beneficiary of all the ripoffs, Ethereum is not going to be one of them. I'm just going to make that prediction right now that if anything, you'll be one of the people that actually loses. So yeah, continuing on, and just another side note, Stephen, I don't know you. I don't have any animus toward you personally, but this sentiment that you're sharing with us right here, this isn't held by the majority of people in cryptocurrency. This is held by you and people that work very, very closely with banks and other legacy financiers, i.e. the same people that we created this space to get the fuck away from. So, you know, maybe you're new here and you haven't quite worn the stank of necessity for some third party to the business here, but bro, you need to shed it because it's not going to serve you here. Eventually, and even if we do have monkeys like you that are like above us in the whole corporate structure that are telling us to do all this bullshit, and you do get some level of compliance, I can guarantee you right now, there isn't enough fucking economic activity going on here to make a difference. And even if you were to get 2 billion of us over to cryptocurrencies and regulate us how you want to, you're not going to be able to generate any more taxes than you're currently assessing. It's just not going to happen. We'll find other ways to pay people that aren't trackable by you. We'll find other ways to receive things that are not trackable or taxable by you. You don't seem to understand that you've hit that threshold point now where in and amongst people that recognize themselves to be free, there is a certain percentage of their lifestyle that has to be theirs. They have to be able to own it wholly. It has to be a promise, at least, that in the future they will own more of it. Because if that doesn't exist, then the entire motivation to participate in your system goes away. You see what I'm saying? That's why you have the level of compliance that you do have right now. It's because it's the minimum level of compliance that people are willing to tolerate with. But there's going to come a point, and I really feel it's very soon, where this idea of control hits that threshold where you trying to apply that control intercedes too far with that concept of freedom. And it's going to cloud out that idea that there is a free future. And if it is, to a significant degree, people will lose vision of it. And then they will lose incentive in participating in your little game here. Matter of fact, I just read about some kind of rich couple. They're living up on the 5th floor. They could see the collapse of their lifestyle happening. And rather than move down to the tenements and trying to struggle their way back up, they just jumped off their balcony. I think that's pretty reasonable. It's a reasonable response. It's a reasonable response. If you busted your ass for a decade and you got into a certain position, and it's kind of obvious from the monetary or the job market out there and whatnot that there's very, very little likelihood that you're going to wake up tomorrow and there's going to be an opportunity for what you're already capable of doing, or another opportunity for you to get back up to the level of lifestyle that you're used to living in. You know, it's perfectly reasonable, man. The walls on the cage were getting in too tight. There wasn't enough reward for having practiced the maze perfectly. And he said, got to take the way out. The only way out left. And it was funny, somebody tried to blame it on capitalism. It's not capitalism, man. You've been living in fucking fantasy land. Everything around you is fucking financed to the bone. Unless, of course, you built the house that and you own the property. It's financed to the bone, man. All of it. And that shit's ending, man. The fucking fee is coming due. And there's not enough economic activity out there to service the payments for it. As a matter of fact, I don't think there's enough economic activity out there to service the interest on the payments that are due. And these fucking people think that coming into cryptocurrencies and regulating us is going to be enough? Shit. This ought to show you the level of desperation they are feeling right now, that they are looking to us. We represent, what, maybe $110 billion. That's the entire market cap of the fucking cryptocurrency. And of course, that's above ground. That's not counting the hidden pools of money that fucking Chase and IBM and all these other fuckers that are stuffing it in from the background. But in the flesh, above the board, $110 billion industry, and the SEC is barking down our neck. I mean, do you know how much longer the fucking the last bubble, the housing bubble, do you realize how many more years went into the creation of that? And that was all quote unquote legitimate regulated markets that was happening in. I mean, imagine now where all the assets are digital. Oh my God. The SEC can't possibly cannot possibly serve as a regulatory body for cryptocurrencies. Number one, the markets are global, and the SEC span and reach is not global. Number two, they're digital. They're not. You can't hold it in your hand. You can't stand on it. You can't take it away from somebody if they really don't want you to have it. So now, where's your enforcement? If you can't have enforcement, what good are your laws? And if you can't enforce your laws, why are you bothering to speak? These people have no idea what they're trying to reach for. I mean, they're reaching out into the dark. They're going to come back with a fucking bloody stump. I mean, that should be obvious to anybody in cryptocurrencies, that you are so far beyond their reach with nothing more than a paper wallet that they really should just shut the fuck up, because they're just making themselves look like fools. I titled the last episode that I put up there on my YouTube channel, I titled it "Go Home SEC, You're Drunk," and really that's what they sound like to me. And hearing this monkey reflect that they have some sort of authority that they can exact over people in cryptocurrencies, it's fucking ludicrous. Is fucking ludicrous. I mean, really, how are you going to arrest the DAO, SEC? I mean, if somebody gets that right to where it's completely decentralized, it's not even in Ethereum's control, how are you going to arrest that? How are you going to enforce your requirements on that? You're not. You might as well just give up now and walk the fuck away from it, and hope that the participants in it actually bother to pay their taxes. Because that's really the best you're going to be able to do. I mean, you might get some people that think that you still have power, and you can kind of like what's going on now with AML and KYC. You know, there's enough people out there that want to participate openly that they will bother to register with you, and they will suffer your regulations and all that other bullshit. But as far as I can tell, they're not going to represent a really significant amount of the cryptosphere in the longer term. I think that there was a point where torrenting was something that grandma could do, or at least downloading, file sharing was something that grandma could do. There's a very, very limited window between that and Netflix. Okay? And that window right there, if you're already on one side of it, like the open side of it right now with the regulatory regime as it currently is. Now we hit that window in between now and Netflix, okay, where it's popular enough that grandma's doing it, and Netflix isn't capable of handling it isn't there. I can't even think up an appropriate metaphor to describe that situation. I mean, because we're talking about money here. You know, I mean, if you think about it as like a container, right? It's got a volume of liquid in it, and you kind of like a dam. We'll use a dam as an example. You've got a lake on one side, and then a dam, and then river on the other side, and then a little crack develops in that dam, and a big old spout of water shoots through it. That's where we're at right now with cryptocurrencies. And the global monetary activity is on the other side of that dam. Okay, and right now the SEC has an 8-ounce cup, and they're putting it in front of that fucking spigot shooting out of the side of the dam and trying to catch it. They're trying to catch the water as it's like arcing and touching down to the ground. Okay? They're not addressing the dam because they really can't. It's too high up to reach with the cup. and they're getting some of the drops in the cup, but there's so much water that they're missing, and they don't have enough hands and enough cups to catch all the drops. And in the meanwhile, the hole in the dam is getting bigger and getting bigger and getting bigger. And so now maybe in a year the SEC will get a bucket. They'll be out there with a 5-gallon bucket trying to catch the spigot because there's so much water. And they're out there in fucking rain gear and neoprenes because they're getting drenched and they can't catch enough of the fucking water in the bucket to justify their fucking existence or justify doing what they're doing. And while they're doing that, the hole in the dam is getting bigger. You see the situation that I'm talking about here? Now imagine that hole becomes a window and somebody manually opens it. That's what we're doing in cryptocurrencies. We are manually opening the window in the dam to let more water through, and the SEC is down there below the dam trying to catch the flow of the water with an 8-ounce cup. Is that you think maybe that's enough visualization for you to get the metaphor here? Anyway, let's go ahead and throw it back down to some music here. And I haven't picked out anything, so we're just going to go for it. Sepultura, Arise, here on Coin Metal. And that was Cowboys from Hell by Pantera. Alright. And of course, I didn't actually have anything picked out. And it looks like my program is giving me some shit. Weird. Come on. Flag is not responding. Come on. Hurry up. Close the program. Reconnect. Let's do this thing. And we had a minor disconnection there, but we're able to get forward and roll with it, because that's what we do here on Coin Metal. We just do this shit. Don't worry about asking permission. We just do it. We got enough permission. We got permission to use the server, and that's what we're doing. And so, that's pretty much how most of crypto, I expect, will continue to operate, regardless of what the SEC may have to say about it. And like I said, it's like, I don't know, it's hard to quantify these people and their silly opinions. And I don't know, I think we got enough time to get through this thing. It's the SEC and their DAO thing. I don't know. I don't know that I want to give these people any more airtime, honestly. I know that it matters to somebody out there that the SEC is watching this shit, but I don't know. I don't see it. It seems to me that things like, I'll give you an example, the FDA. The FDA is basically run by an ex-Monsanto CEO. Or at least it was the last time I checked. Now, I don't know what would be a better example of the wolf tending the sheep, but that's pretty much what that is. And in my view, even pretending the SEC has any real pull within cryptocurrencies, it's like saying that the FDA is a legitimate organization with Monsanto running it. It's just it's incongruent with reality. Anyway, we were pretty much done with that article. I have a hard time dedicating any more airtime to that, just because I don't know. Like I said, I might as well be listening to an SEC representative speaking from within cryptocurrency about this, about the opinion of cryptocurrencies, even though there really is no relationship between the two. You know, I think if you're not transacting in Federal Reserve notes to do the actual initial offering, then the SEC has no ability to regulate or any say in the matter. Anyway, I do have one thing here. I've been kind of following this only because, well, I hold Bitcoin and I happen to trade on Bittrex. And so I saw that this statement had come across my Twitter feed, and I decided I gotta open it up. But I have not actually read this yet, and so I reserved it for here. This is off of support.bittrex.com. Statement on Bitcoin Cash. If you have a Bitcoin balance on Bittrex during the BCC UAHF time on August 1st, 5:20 a.m., 12:20 p.m. UTC, you will be additionally credited the equivalent amount of Bitcoin Cash on a one-to-one basis, i.e., 1 Bitcoin on Bittrex held during the on-exchange snapshot will get you 1 BCC. The full detail is below. Bitcoin Cash is a proposed digital asset based on the Bitcoin ABC client. BCC is set to perform a user-activated hard fork from the Bitcoin network on August 1st, 5:20 a.m. BCC includes some code and consensus changes such as SIGHASH_fork ID replay protection, support for 8 megabyte block sizes, modified difficulty adjustment, and removed support for segregated witness. At this time, several exchanges have expressed the future support for BCC trading as well as mining pools. Bittrex will be monitoring this situation closely. Bittrex will close deposits and withdrawals of Bitcoin, including second layer protocol, XCP/Omni, and associated assets, 24 hours prior to the BCC UAHF time on August 1st, 5:20 a.m. The wallet will remain closed until the majority hash power chain is clearly established. Trading will remain active during this time. In the event of a chain split, Bittrex will take all responsible steps to ensure that customer funds can be preserved on both chains. Bittrex will monitor the BCC network stability and developments and assess the viability of opening trading of BCC assets. There is no guarantee that any markets open to allow BCC will open to allow BCC assets to be tradable on Bittrex exchange. In the case of no BCC market opening, you will be able to withdraw BCC. Further information. And we will find that out. As a matter of fact, that is where we're going to take this next, because honestly, the SEC, as far as I'm concerned, is a moribund and obsolete organization. They can't do their job worth of shit in legacy markets, and we've already made them obsolete in crypto markets. So, continuing on. This one is up on Medium, and I'm not going to read it, because it's by Jimmy Song, and I don't know. Fuck it. I'll read it. And if I feel Jimmy Song's bias against BCC is terribly prevalent, I'll get rid of it and not complete this article. Because honestly, I'm going to address this as dispassionately as possible. I really think that all that's ever really been needed this whole time is a simple block size upgrade. And I don't even think it needs 8 megabytes. I think 4 megabytes would suffice, honestly. But, who am I? I mean, if it was 8 megabytes, then I think we would be closer to the Moore's Law threshold. And that's why I think 4 megabytes would be a better change, just because A, it would be 4 times as much space for transactions as we currently have, which is what's been needed all this time. And number 2, we are behind the curve with regard to Moore's Law. Okay, that means that things like bandwidth speeds, processing efficiency, electricity consumption efficiency, all of these things have been getting ahead of us. Well, maybe not electricity efficiency. I think we've been keeping pretty good with that one. But with regard to throughput, the digital throughput that's limited by the hardware infrastructure, that has been getting ahead of us because we've been stuck at 1 megabyte. Okay, so now if we bump it up to 4 megabytes, we're still going to be well within the Moore's Law threshold there, that when we do bump up to 8 and then 16, we'll still be behind that curve, hopefully. I mean, it may catch up to us, or we may catch up to it sometime in the future, but I think that, 4 megabytes is reasonable. 8 megabytes, it's a little overkill. It gives us a lot of room to play with, and it'll make transactions really fucking cheap to begin with, or at least it should. I think it might be a little bit too much room to play with, but we'll find out. Anyway, we'll go ahead and assimilate this for a tad, and if we feel that Jimmy is too biased, we will be bailing ship. Jimmy's song, so clearly, and he does have a picture, so yes, penis. I've seen this man speak before too. Clearly, penis. Bitcoin Cash, what you need to know. Bitcoin Cash's sudden announcement on Saturday that they'll go ahead with a fork on August 1st caught a lot of people, including myself, by surprise. In this article, I'm going to explain what Bitcoin Cash, aka BCC, is, how it affects you, and how you should prepare for August 1st. What is Bitcoin Cash? Here is the project announcement on Bitcoin Talk, and we may actually read that instead of this. And here's the project website. It'll all depend on Jimmy. Alright, so this is from the project website's FAQ. What is Bitcoin Cash? Bitcoin Cash is peer-to-peer electronic cash for the internet. It is fully decentralized with no central bank and requires no trusted third parties to operate. The prominent use of peer-to-peer electronic cash is purposeful here. Bitcoin Cash is seeking to be a cryptocurrency that's focused on transaction capacity. Why is this fork a surprise? Many people, including myself, thought that this fork would only trigger if BIP 148 were able to split the network. In other words, many people thought Bitcoin Cash and its client Bitcoin ABC was just a credible threat to prevent a contentious user-activated soft fork. What? No. Well, yeah, kinda. Yeah. Prevent a contentious user-activated fork. Bitmain actually stated that SegWit 2x, aka the New York Agreement, would be preferable. And yeah, good for him. So naturally, when BIP 91, the first part of SegWit 2x, locked in and activated ahead of BIP 148, which is scheduled for August 1st, most assumed this would prevent the so-called user-activated hard fork from triggering. But it looks like Bitcoin Cash supporters had other ideas. Why should I care? You should care because Bitcoin Cash is a permanent fork of Bitcoin. Again, from the fact. Is Bitcoin Cash different from Bitcoin? Yes. Bitcoin Cash is the continuation of the Bitcoin project as a peer-to-peer digital cash. It is a fork of the blockchain of the Bitcoin blockchain ledger with upgraded consensus rules that allow it to grow and scale. This means that if you own Bitcoin that is you control your own private keys prior to the fork on 2017 August 1st, 1220 UTC, you will have the same amount of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash after the fork. Lest you think these BCC isn't worth anything, BCC futures are currently trading at about $475 on via BTC. What do I need to know? First, you should know that many exchanges, including Coinbase, are simply not prepared for this event. Again, from the FAQ. If I own Bitcoin, do I automatically own Bitcoin Cash too? Yes, because Bitcoin Cash is a fork of the ledger, that means you own the same amount of Bitcoin Cash as you did Bitcoin at the time of the forking block. However, if your Bitcoins are stored by a third party such as an exchange, then you must inquire with them about your cash. Note that last sentence. Exchanges or third-party Bitcoin storage providers may or may not give you your Bitcoin Cash. It's likely that third-party services will try to do the right thing, but there's no way to know if they can get everything set up in time to be able to give you the Bitcoin Cash you're entitled to. Second, all hard forks present two risks: replay and wipeout attacks. Wipeout is not as much a risk since this is a permanent fork. There are scenarios where one chain's miners may attack the other, but this isn't in play yet. Replay protection is provided as part of the Bitcoin Cash release as explained in the FAQ. How is transaction replay being handled between the new and old blockchain? Bitcoin Cash transactions use a new flag called SIGHASH_fork ID, which is non-standard to the legacy blockchain. This prevents Bitcoin Cash transactions from being replayed on the Bitcoin blockchain and vice versa. Rest assured that as long as you control your own private keys, you should be able to use those keys to create transactions on either chain safely. I thought Bitcoin solved scaling. Why is this happening? Good question. After the scaling drama of the past few years, we finally made progress when BIP91 locked in on Thursday. Though SegWit increases transaction capacity, it's not done so in a way that everyone is happy with. Yeah, because it requires a third party, Jimmy. BCC looks like an appeal to the segment of the Bitcoin users that don't like SegWit, which is pretty much the majority of us. Since SegWit is getting activated on Bitcoin, this fork gives many of these people a place to go. From the FAQ, why was a fork necessary to create Bitcoin Cash? The legacy Bitcoin, this is the answer from the FAQ. The legacy Bitcoin code had a maximum limit of 1 megabyte of data per block, or about 3 transactions per second. Actually, it's 7. Although technically simple to raise this limit, the community could not reach a consensus, even after years of debate. Yes, it could, but the debate wasn't actually couched properly, and that's why everybody is really confused about all this bullshit. So what features does Bitcoin Cash have? Bitcoin Cash offers 3 new features. First, it offers a much bigger block size of 8 megabytes. Second, it offers replay and wipeout protection. The transaction signature is slightly different, and the forking block has to be greater than 1 megabyte. Third, it offers a way to adjust the proof of work difficulty quicker than the normal 2016 block difficulty adjustment interval found in Bitcoin. From the project announcement on Bitcoin Talk, forking rule. Rec 7 difficulty adjustment in case of hash rate drop. In case of the MTP of the tip of the chain is 12 hash or more after the 12 hash or more after the MTP 6 block before the tip, the proof of work target is increased by a quarter or 25%, which corresponds to a difficulty reduction of 20%. Rationale. The hash rate supporting the chain is dependent on market price and hard to predict. In order to make sure the chain remains viable, no matter what difficulty needs to adjust down viable no matter what difficulty needs to adjust down in case of abrupt hash rate drop. In other words, the difficulty will adjust pretty quickly should there be a low hash rate. What does this mean for Bitcoin? This is the hardest thing to answer. It may mean nothing, it may mean a lot. Some things that we'll now need to think about are: 1. Who will mine Bitcoin Cash? Number 2. Who will have the larger hash rate? Both coins will use double SHA-256 as the proof of work. Number 3. What will the price ratio be? Number 4. What will the volumes on both coins be like? Number 5. How will hash rate react to price? How will price react to hash rate? Number 6. How will this affect the 2x HF or hard fork part of SegWit 2x? And number 7. Or was that 7? No, this is number 7. What chain will coins that operate on top of Bitcoin like Omni and Counterparty use? That's an interesting question. Conclusion. Unfortunately, the Bitcoin Cash announcement brings more questions than answers. One thing is for certain, if you want to maximize your holdings, it's in your best interest to get your Bitcoin off third-party services and control your own private keys before August 1st. Okay, Jimmy. Fairly unbiased. There's a little twinge in there. I could taste it, but it wasn't too bad. As far as my feelings on this whole Bitcoin Cash business, I really wish that such a thing weren't necessary, but apparently I think it is. I mean, you would think that saying no to SegWit after 2 years would be enough, but apparently not. And whether strictly perceived or not, I think that the UASF people, they created the necessity for this kind of reaction. Whether they want to accept the responsibility for that, that's a whole different question. And seeing as accepting responsibility doesn't seem to be in their pantheon of things to do, I think like the SEC, they should just shush. Most of them aren't miners. Most of them aren't even merchants that have some sort of service that's going to benefit from segregated witness, but they yell really loud for it, and it makes me think that they're actually representatives of bankers or ex-banker employees, or maybe they're the proxies that we were talking about earlier. I don't know. We'll find out. It all depends on what the miners do. Personally, I think what will end up happening is that August 1st is going to happen and nothing is going to change. I mean, you might end up with BCC trying to fork off, but I don't think that the UAHF, the BIP 148 people are going to have enough hash power to constitute a threat that would necessitate the activation of Bitcoin Cash. I think jumping ahead like they have is a little preemptive, but it shows that somebody is willing to do something. That not everybody is just willing to stay in the shadows and stay unheard. That somebody is stepping out into the light and saying, hey, you know what? I'm not going to take this shit. I'm not going to take it laying down. And honestly, I wish there was more of that. I wish that when I was tuning into my Twitter feed, I was seeing individuals who were authoring BIPs post their BIPs or like links to them directly on Twitter and people retweeting it. But I don't see that. I'd really like to see descriptors of BIPs that include things just like a simple block size increase, because I know somebody has authored one. If it was something as that simple a change, I am absolutely certain somebody has authored a BIP to fit that bill, and for whatever reason, the people talked enough shit about it or whatever that it's stayed hidden for the year and 3 quarters that it's been in existence, and nobody talks about it, and nobody writes articles about it, and so nobody knows about it. And hey, if you're authoring it, if you've authored something like that and you've posted it and nobody's giving you any kind of movement forward on it, nobody's promoting it, put it on my Twitter, and it's at DJERock23. Tweet it to me. If I read it and I think it fits the bill, I'll fucking read it on the show and we'll find out if it fits the bill. Fuck it. But that's the kind of thing that I would like to see. I would much rather see that kind of discussion when it comes to things like upgrading Bitcoin. I would much rather see that level of discourse than this, you must do it or Bitcoin won't scale. Fucking scale is a word that somebody at Visa used. Some representative talking to somebody at, like Andreas Antonopoulos or one of these other guys, and said, oh, but Bitcoin can't scale. And they took him seriously. And that's really unfortunate, because they've been propagating that word like it should mean something in cryptocurrencies, and I don't really think it does. I think scale is something you impose on other people. When you have scale without expansion of interest, then you have tyranny. You have monopolies. When the interest expands along with the expansion of scale, then it stays in more hands, and you don't have that big a threat of some dominating force coming in and seizing a hold of all of it. In any case, I want to go ahead and throw down a little more music here. And I don't know if I've played anything off of For All Kings, but I'm definitely in an Anthrax mood. So, Evil Twin here on Coin Metal. And that was Good Morning Black Friday by Megadeth. Off of Peace Sells, but who's buying? By the way, I believe Megadeth is currently on tour. It's amazing. Guys are just on it, man. Anyway, back onto articles and whatnot, and we talked a little bit about BCC, and that's all cool. Let's see here. This is on their fucking GitHub shit. Or no, this is actually on Reddit. Some announcement business. I'm reviewing some information here. My apologies, a little bit of dead air there. Oh, but yeah, we're in for some interesting times. I am wondering how many miners will actually be mining Bitcoin Cash. It'll be very interesting. It was funny. I've been thinking about it also, and like, what if the majority of the miners, like 60-70% of the miners, just don't make any change in what they're doing at all, and just like keep doing what they're doing? Basically, all of this bullshit will go away if they wait until like August 3rd and they just like keep doing everything that they're doing, all this shit's gonna go away. All the fucking segregated witness bullshit's gonna go away. All the fucking the Bitcoin Unlimited bullshit's gonna go away, because all of their shit has like time thresholds that they have to hit shit by. And there's one thing really disingenuous. Actually, there's a lot of things disingenuous about the SegWit people, which makes me think that they are bankers, or at least banker sponsored. One thing they fail to mention is the fact that they have yet to hit any of their activation thresholds. And they make a big deal about BIP 91, but all BIP 91 really was signaling intent to support segregated witness 2x. That's with a 2 megabyte block size upgrade. So it's not even that they're going to support BIP 9 or 8 or 9 or 10. I think it's 8 or 9, which is the original segregated witness. It doesn't mean they're going to support BIP 141 or 148 or any of that other bullshit. It just means that they intend to, maybe, if they actually stick to the NYA, agree to go to segregated witness with the promise that they will get 2 megabytes for the block size increase. And see, I think they know. I think the miners know already that they're not going to get that. That the segregated witness people, they are intent on keeping that block size at 1 megabyte, and they do not wish it to grow larger because, well, I don't know why. I think it's stupid, but you know. Anyway, I wanted to touch on something else, because this goes to the U.S. dollar side of the equation that I've been talking about on this show, with regard to the desperation clearly indicated by the SEC, and they're chasing after funds here in cryptocurrencies via taxation, regulation, licensure, all that other bullshit. This is something that is on the Federal Reserve Note side of things. And here we go. This is off of Zero Hedge. Markets regulators ignore ticking time bomb of shadow margin loans. And this one says it's by Tyler Durden, but we both know better. It could very well be a female. But it was written on July 28, 2017, so we're just going to roll with it. Oh, it says authored by Wolf Richter via wolfstreet.com. And you know what? We're going to right-click on it just in case and see if it's a full article. Because I want to make sure that, yeah, it is. Excellent! So we're going to read it directly off of wolfstreet.com instead of Zero Hedge. And this one is markets relax. As a matter of fact, you know what? Just so you guys can read along and whatnot, and account for all my mistakes and whatnot, I'm posting a link for it in the Telegram, so you can just like get interactive with me here. All right. So that's done, and I want to inflate the size of this, because despite the magnitude of my monitor, my eyesight sucks. So here we go. Wolf Street. Markets relax merrily on a powerful time bomb. Magnitude unknown but huge. Brokerages push it to new heights. Stock and bond market leverage is everywhere. Some of it is transparent, such as NYSE margin debt, which was $539 billion as of the June report. But the hottest form of stock and bond market leverage is opaque, offered by financial firms that usually don't disclose the totals, security-based loans, SBLs, or, quote, shadow margin, because no one knows how much of it there is. But it's a lot, and it's booming. These loans can be used for anything, pay for tuition, fix up that kitchen, or fund a vacation. The money is spent, the loan remains. When security prices fall, the problems begin. FINRA, the regulator for brokerages, doesn't track this shadow margin, nor does the SEC. Both, however, have been warning about the risks. No one knows the overall amount of this shadow margin, but some details have been reported. Number 1, Morgan Stanley had $36 billion of these loans on its balance sheets as of the end of 2006, up 26% from 2016, and more than twice the amount in 2013. Number 2, Bank of America Merrill Lynch had $40 billion in SBLs on the balance sheet at the end of 2016, up 140% from 2010. Number 3, UBS and Wells Fargo, quote, also have made billions in such loans. People familiar with those banks told the Wall Street Journal, Raymond James, they're all doing it. 4, Fidelity used to fund its own SBLs for its clients, but 3 years ago partnered with U.S. Bancorp. That's interesting. If you take the P off of Bancorp, you end up with Bancor. Interesting. Number 5. Even the little ones are trying to get their slice of the pie. In April, robo-advisory startup Wealthfront, with less than $6 billion, announced it would offer SBLs to its clients. And now Goldman Sachs, which has been offering SBLs to its 12,000 super wealthy clients through its private banking unit, accounting for, quote, more than half of the unit's $29 billion in loans outstanding, according to the Wall Street Journal, announced on Thursday that this wasn't enough and that it is partnering with Fidelity Investments to spread those loans far and wide. More mergers and acquisitions, apparently. This effort to lever up investors' portfolios occurs after an 8-year bull run with stock indices hopping from one all-time high to the next, even as the economy has been growing at a dreadfully slow pace, and even as corporate earnings have mostly gone nowhere for years. Since July 2012, the trailing 12-month, quote, adjusted earnings per share of the companies in the S&P 500 rose just 12% in total. Over the same time period, the S&P index itself soared 80%. These adjusted earnings are now back where they had been on March 2014. 3 years of earnings stagnation. However, over the same 3 years plus, the S&P 500 index has soared 33%. As earnings have stagnated while stock prices have jumped, the PE ratio for the S&P 500 companies has soared from 14.8 at the beginning of 2012 to 24.8 now, and bonds have seen an enormous bull run too. It is these precariously high levels of the markets that brokerages go into hyperdrive to push, quote, shadow margin on their clients, using inflated securities as collateral. If markets decline, brokerages start making margin calls, and investors will be forced to sell their securities into a falling market at the worst possible time, or else the brokerage will liquidate their portfolios. Investors could lose every dime in their accounts and might be personally responsible for the remainder of the debt. After 8 years of bull market, no one is thinking about risk anymore. Goldman Sachs will offer these SBLs to about 6 million accounts managed by 3,850 brokers, and wealth managers that use Fidelity's technology, though they will not be available to Fidelity's own retail brokerage or wealth management clients, the Journal. The centerpiece of the action is a new online platform called GS Select, probably a blockchain-related thing, that will offer loans of between $75,000 and $25 million with borrowers' portfolios of stocks and bonds serving as collateral, the companies said Thursday. Goldman's software can analyze the holdings and make a decision within a day about how much to lend and on what terms. Andrew Kaiser, head of Goldman Sachs Private Banking, told the Journal that this partnership with Fidelity is just the first of several. Small wealth advisors and independent broker-dealers are good fits because they aren't already connected to a bank, he said. What's in it for brokerages? SBLs are a source of revenue that replaces some of the revenue brokerages lost as they're moving away from charging commission on trades to charging fees on assets under management. When charging people to keep their money there. That's funny. When clients need money, they'd normally sell some securities and withdraw the proceeds from the account. This would lower the asset balance of the account and therefore the fees for the broker. So brokerages encourage clients to leave their assets intact and add a big loan to the account. This keeps the asset-based fee intact, and the brokerage also sees interest income on the loans. Everyone at the brokerage benefits from the deal, the Wall Street Journal. Several Merrill Lynch brokers said they have asked long-standing clients to open securities-backed lines of credit to help them hit bonus hurdles, assuring that clients wouldn't need to use it or pay any fees for opening it. Merrill brokers receive ongoing payments for getting clients to tap credit lines, and those loan balances contribute to year-end bonus calculations, people familiar with the matter said. Brokerage executives have said the longer a client has one of these loans tied to their account, the more likely they are to use it. Quote, "We are dramatically pushed to put these on all of our client accounts," said Stephen Dudash, a former Merrill Lynch broker who has been managing his own investment advisory firm since 2014. Whenever you're product pushing, it's not in the client's best interest. What's in it for their clients? Clients get to pile on low interest rate debt and huge risks, including the chance of losing more than all the assets in the account if push comes to shove in the markets and their collateral value gets crushed. They will have to sell into a crash at the worst possible time, and even after they sold all their assets, they might still owe the broker, and the broker will go after them for the remaining debt, the Journal explains. These arrangements are structured to benefit the brokerage, with the client shouldering virtually all the risk, critics say, and these loan products are often pushed without regard on whether clients even need them, they add. There's another side effect to this margin debt, whether it is out in the open like the NYSE margin debt or the shadow margin of those SBLs. When markets decline and forced to sell kicks in, it causes a further decline in the market, which causes even more forced selling. Think cascading sell-off. Think Ethereum. Leverage has been the great accelerator on the way up over the past 8 years, and it's also the great accelerator on the way down. Covenant light loans. Risky instruments issued by drunk-rated borrowers with few protections for creditors set an all-time record at the end of the second quarter. Read, risk has been abolished according to institutional investors. Bullshit. But I'm reading this article and this thought is coming to my mind, like, what if the actual, like, how should I say this? The collateral or the monetary units being used to represent on the other side of the balance sheet these notes and these these loans and whatnot. What if they're ICOs? What if? Just follow me here. What if Merrill Lynch has, like, some CEO or CFO or whoever has a kid who's 22 years old, right? And they get him to start an ICO, and then they issue, 3 or 4 million tokens, and they're in Ether, right? That Merrill Lynch buys. Now, of course, Ether is the intermediary currency, and so any action that happens on Ether will either profit or cost whoever's holding those tokens, right? And so they use the tokens as collateral, and they can issue as many of them as they want. As we read Bancor, and if you listen to my episode Bancor, it's tokens all the way down. Really read that thing. I mean, listen to it. I read through the paperwork for Bancor. They can do all kinds of weird shit, man. They can create tokens at a whim. And that one is the big whoop-de-doo that caught my eye. But so check this out. Like, on the front end, you have a cryptocurrency ICO, right? And you have tokens for it. And they're valuated in Ethereum. But they use that as an underlying volume of funds to do these SBLs on top of. And they have their own internal conversion rate for both, right? And it's not disclosed to anybody except for maybe somewhere in the Ethereum client it's represented there. But you'd actually have to read the code to find it. But the point being that, so they have these tokens, right, that they sell through their ICOs. And then they use the monies to fund their collateral fund for these SBLs. Now, it doesn't have to have a return in the conventional market because its return is happening in the crypto market. See how that works? So if Ethereum shoots back up to $400, they're going to be making money on that, and of course their ICO will probably go up because it's related to Ethereum through the fact that its liquidity base and its reserve base is in Ethereum, and so they'd be making money on it that way, even if the ICO itself was depreciating in value because the people that were issued the SBLs are defaulting. And the people that are issued the SBLs are on the hook to pay in full. So no matter what, Merrill wins. Whoa. I hope I didn't give somebody just a really bad idea right now. If I did, you can't blame it on me, man. I'm not in the office. I don't have a gun to your head telling you to do it. You create something evil like that, it's all your fault. I don't want to hear your fucking excuses. Anyway, yeah, this is pretty fucking interesting. I can see a lot of issues there. I mean, because it's like I said, there's only so much economic activity going on out there, and the creation of new businesses and stuff, that's cool and all, but if there's not enough actual money in the hands of the people that are your target constituency, then you're not going to make any money. And I mean, Merrill doesn't give a fuck because they own your ass. You know, I mean, if the market for whatever it is that you're doing fucking tanks, you're just fucked. You're just completely fucked. You know, and they might intentionally pull the rug out from under you because they can see how they can run your business better than you can. And then they'll take that kid that's currently running the ICO, and as soon as they've crashed that thing into the ground, he'll take over as CEO of your company and move his way up the corporate ladder. Oh, man. And honestly, you know, you think I'm just like talking shit here, but this is the way it really works. I mean, this is the way that corporate America has been working. You know, so much of it is fucking nepotism and glad handing and backroom deals and all that shit. And the introduction of quote unquote blockchains into this mix is like the worst possible thing ever. Because there's one thing that blockchains do better than anything else. If they are used as they are intended, they do one thing better than anything else. They define the current status of the funds. Who owns the funds? They create the ability to determine accountability. I mean, think about this. We're chasing this fucker that just got nailed in Greece, okay? He was involved in the fucking, the Mt. Gox hack. That happened back in 2014. I guarantee you there are people that have stolen hundreds of billions of dollars out of the fucking global economy through legitimate, regulated fucking market players who walked away with more money than that guy did and who will never be held to account for it. But we found that motherfucker. Can you get what I'm saying here? You start applying blockchains to the budget for your government. And if it's immutable, okay, and it's not one of these fucking editable blockchains that IBM and all the motherfuckers are working so hard on, if it's not editable, you're going to catch all of that shit. All that waste, fraud, and abuse, bye-bye. No more. All that graft and corruption, it's the systemic graft and corruption and the fucking the federal agencies that are created to manage it. Bye-bye. No more. No more. I mean, this is why Bitcoin and quote-unquote blockchain, these are not political tools. They're apolitical. But the effects that they have are... they're incongruent with our current way of doing business. I mean, and trying to introduce them into our current way of business is going to have dramatic effects. I mean, these fucking people at Goldman Sachs and Chase and one another, you know, they're all rubbing their hands together thinking, oh yeah, billions of transactions a day, yeah. You know, they're thinking, yeah, we can get a hold of this thing and we can just extort just gajillion tons of money out of it and we can control the entire economy and we can micromanage everything. No. Because we have those tools too. And we can see you. It's not a one-way relationship anymore. We're not watching TV. We're on the internet. We're in chat rooms interacting with people all over the fucking planet. You know, I mean, it boggles my mind to like know that these people that are saying these things and trying to impose this mimetic on reality, they probably have the latest iPhone or the latest Samsung in their pocket. Now, of course, it's not rooted, it's standard. The point being is they hold more power in their hand than the entire federal government of the United States circa probably up to like 1976 in their fucking hand. There's more surveillance capability, there's more broadcast capability, there's more capability to fucking write programs and deploy them in their fucking hand than the entire federal government had of the United States, the most powerful government at the time, in like 1976. You know, even with global reach and military bases strewn all over the fucking planet, these corporate monkeys and these government monkeys are holding more power in their fucking hands than it took to run all that shit. More power in their hands than it would take to take down all of the government back in 1978. And yet, they're still operating under these memes like, you know, we live in a cage and we can confine the activity down to real narrow channels, and then we can put gates on those channels, and we can tax all the action that goes through those channels via the gateway. Dude, we're building ladders. We're building air cars. We're building teleporters. Your fucking walls don't mean shit. Your channels don't mean shit. Time is an illusion. Location is irrelevant. And you want to live like you're still in some confined box and everybody else is going to be forced to live in it with you. Well, I'm sorry, dude. You're wrong. And we don't live in that world anymore. We're not contained by geography. We're not limited by our economic mobility, our current station in society. I mean, shit, just look at me, man. I'm broadcasting to the entire fucking planet. I got fans in fucking Ireland. I got fans in fucking Australia. I got fans in Florida. I got fans in New York. I got fans all over the fucking PNW. I got fans all over the motherfucking place. And yet, here I am, out in the middle of fucking bumfucked Egypt, Oregon. Just got high-speed internet less than a decade ago. And I'm broadcasting to the fucking world. And these monkeys think that they're going to be able to contain cryptocurrencies that are capable of traversing. I mean, literally, I could sit here and I could read off to you addresses. I could read off to you a private key for a fucking wallet, and you could be a millionaire if I had $1 million to do that with. But the point being is, I could do that. That's possible. It's possible right now. Not 20 years from now. It's now. How are you going to rein in an economy like that, where monetary value can change hands that quickly? Again, you might as well be addressing that hole in the dam with a fucking 8-ounce Dixiecup, because that's the equivalent, of efficacy that you're going to get trying to apply this 18th century market model to the 21st. And we do live in the 21st century, if you hadn't heard that. I mean, you might think we're still in the 50s, but, we have progressed. We have evolved since then. And we're going to... They call it market disruption. It's not fucking disruption. This is evolution, man. This is revolution. This is shit that's... It needed to happen like 2 decades ago. Back when the internet first really started, they should have had one of these currency models. And they probably did. But like I said this on the show, I really think that Bitcoin is like the open source variant of a currency standard that's been used on the internet for the last 30 years. That it's all been shadow, hush, but it's been there. And it's been getting better and better, and more robust, more capable. And then Satoshi Nakamoto brought it out to the clear space. And here we are. But that's just my opinion. No real backing there. I mean, there were other projects that tried this, and they failed because they had centralization. But it's funny because with Ethereum, we're actually kind of migrating back to centralization, because as the flash crash a couple weeks ago was a clear indicator, what happened to all the fucking ICOs? Shit. Their wallets were dumping too. You know? How do you think he got it from $400 down to 33 cents in seconds? That was everybody's sellbots or sellers going, get the fuck out. Anyway, we're going to tap on something short and sweet here by Mr. Schiff. And I've started nagging him. I'd really like to get this guy on the show. I've been following Peter Schiff since the housing collapse, actually. And if you haven't had an opportunity to see Peter Schiff, I strongly suggest looking up C-SPAN Peter Schiff on YouTube, or look him up if you've got the patience for it on C-SPAN and find him. But anyway, he's given testimony several times, and he was giving testimony in the period before the 2008 bubble, and he eloquently, multiple times, impassioned even, laid out his entire case for them. And from what I could tell, what I was seeing on the road level, he was 100% correct, and these people were virtually laughing at him. And I'm like, oh my God, how are they so stupid? Anyway, I wanted to touch on this one. This one's actually on his website, Schiff Gold. If they're worried, maybe we should be too. And this is authored on July 28th by Schiff Gold. No indication as to whether or not it was actually Peter himself. So we're just going to roll with it as is and operate under that assumption. It's nice, short and sweet here. Not too long ago, Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen proclaimed an economic meltdown like the one we saw in 2008 will not likely happen again, quote, in our lifetime. Why? Because banks are, quote, very much stronger. Apparently, at least some of the world's big bankers don't agree with Yellen's assessment. They're worried. Over recent weeks, officials from a number of the world's major banks have warned that the current trajectory is unsustainable and a crash may loom on the horizon. Now, if you're a regular reader of the Schiff Gold blog, you are used to warnings about unsustainable Federal Reserve policy, asset bubbles, and an imminent collapse. People like Ron Paul have been saying for years, you can't run the world like this. It may be tempting to blow off all this as hyperbole or simply the musings of economic contrarians, but these latest warnings don't come from the gold bugs, preppers, or political outsiders. These bankers are the ultimate mainstream insiders, and it appears they're getting nervous despite Yellen's unbridled optimism. Richard Plummer from The Trumpet chronicled some of these statements. The chief economist for Bank of International Settlements sounded the most dire warning last month. Quote, the end may come to resemble more closely a financial boom gone wrong, just as the latest recession showed with a vengeance. The Swiss-based bank is often called the central bank of central banks. An article in the Telegraph summarized the BIS report, quote, the global economy is caught in a permanent trap of boom-bust financial cycles. This deformed structure is becoming ever more corrosive and dangerous as debt ratios rise to vertiginous levels. The world's top monetary watchdog has warned. The Bank for International Settlements said the rot in the global monetary system has not been cut out since the Lehman crisis in 2008.
The current aging and unstable cycle could finish in much the same explosive way, contrary to the widespread belief that it was a once-in-a-century event caused by speculators. Bank of America's global FX strategy team also weighed in, publishing a note directed at the Fed titled, "Take that punch bowl away." The note warns central banks need to tighten monetary policy, and they will, quote, "be sorry if they allow bubbles." Quote, "If we are wrong and central banks do not take away the punch bowl, things will get much messier eventually. Bubbles may form that will eventually burst, leading to much higher volatility than necessary." You have to give credit to the folks of B of A for finally admitting loose monetary policy creates bubbles, but it seems they are about 8 years too late to the party. Deutsche Bank strategist Alexander Krosik took the opposite tact. He warned that the Fed had better not take the proverbial punch bowl away too fast. He said ending the stimulus will be especially tricky. He also had some interesting insight into the long-term effect of central banks infusing the economy with easy money. He said policies like QE, quote, "have acted as a free insurance policy for the owners of risk, which, given the demographics of stock market participation, in effect has functioned as universal basic income for the rich." Quote, "It is not difficult to see how disruptive unwind of stimulus could become." Yeah, more bankers could jump off their balconies. Boo-hoo. Contrast the concerns voiced by Bank of America with those of Deutsche Bank, who reveal the tight spot the Fed finds itself in. Yellen has put herself between a rock and a hard place. If she tightens, she risks bursting the bubbles. If she doesn't, she risks inflating the bubbles further, leading to an even bigger crash when they finally bust. The Bank of England raised another concern. The mother of all bubbles, debt. The Telegraph summed up the problem. Quote, "British families are signed up for a lifetime of debt, with almost 1 in 7 borrowers now taking out mortgages of 35 years or more," official figures show. Rapid house price growth has encouraged borrowers to sign longer mortgage deals as a way of reducing monthly payments and easing affordability pressures. Yeah, guess what happens if the interest rate goes up? The most significant thing about these warnings isn't their substance, but their source. These are major mainstream players in the world's financial system. They generally like to keep a positive spin on things like Yellen. If they're worried, maybe we should be worried too. Palmer sums it up nicely. These warnings are not from doom merchants, always saying the economy is about to tank. Not that the doomsayers are wrong. Predicting exactly when everything all goes wrong is very hard. But these warnings are from banks. To characterize their warnings accurately, they're not saying we're hurtling toward an inevitable crash. The warnings the warnings from BIS are the most dramatic, while those from the Bank of England are the most relaxed. But they are warning that there is risk. And that, my friends, is the last of it. We are going to be closing this episode out in just a moment or two, but something to think about, okay? These are monstrous debts that we were talking about just a moment ago, that the SEC and FINRA are more or less ignoring. I mean, really, if they pursued those issues like they're pursuing cryptocurrencies, we really wouldn't be in this mess. But unfortunately, it seems like they want to neutralize any ways out because they're intent on taking all of us down their path with them. And it's with that we're going to go ahead and close out, but we will be back again on Monday. I'd like to take this moment to thank you very much for listening. I certainly appreciate the support. You will be able to find me on Twitter under DJERock23 or Frank Dashwood, also under the hashtag CoinMetal. You can also find me on Facebook, IRC, and in the Verge Currency Telegram. And so, until Monday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I want y'all to trade safe. I want you to do your homework. I want you to watch out for your bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. Not even BTC. Or BCC. Yeah, not even them. Anyway, have a great weekend, and I'll see y'all again on Monday. Good night. Oh, and I forgot a closing dance. What the fuck am I going to put in that's going to be that short? Shogun named Marcus. Here on Coin Metal. Great weekend, folks.